Remember to subscribe for daily top Reddit stories. Okay, story time. What are some very creepy facts? Female mummies in ancient Egypt were always more decomposed than their male counterparts. They discovered that this was because male bodies were embalmed a lot sooner than female bodies. Female bodies were kept at the family home until they started to decompose in order to avoid necrophilia at the embalmers. After getting stung by a cone snail, you don't feel the sting for a little bit. There is no antivenin and it can be lethal. Treatment is basically keeping the victim alive until the venom wears off. One reason that crows and ravens are associated with death is because they would often follow armies as they marched to battle. Being both carrion birds and extremely intelligent, they realized that a large group of armed men marching on one direction meant that there would be a tasty meal of corpses to eat soon afterwards. Blobfish in its natural habitat looks like a normal fish, but it lives so deep underwater that it doesn't use a normal gas bladder to keep itself balanced. Instead, it has a spongy skin that is slightly less dense than water, which becomes damaged and bloated when fishermen bring it up too quickly. It's not really the ugliest fish. It has just experienced something worse than one of us being thrown into outer space. Between sea level and space, there's 1 atmospheric pressure of difference. Between sea level and 2,000 feet underwater, their upper limit, there's 60 atmospheres of difference. When you happen to be murdered, there is only an about 40% chance that your murderer will be found and punished. Edit. A lot of people are asking which country I'm referring to. This is a worldwide approximation. There are obviously countries with higher percentages of solved murder cases, but also some with even lower. For example, in the US there is a 40% chance to get away with murder. In Mexico 90% to get away with it. Organized crime. The overall amount of crimes in that area and war plays a huge role in this. If you begin to display symptoms of rabies, you will go crazy and die. There's no cure. Your brain will slowly melt until you're dead. Serial killer Richard Chase took any unlocked door as an invitation to come inside. Crocodiles can gallop like a horse. I don't like knowing this, so I am cursing you people with this knowledge as well. Fortunately, alligators cannot. In the US, if someone is kidnapped and not found within about a day, then there is a 97% chance the kidnapped person is dead. Men who are hanged get a death erection, known as rigor erectus. Pretty awkward for the family, I assume. There's a parasite that enters a fish's mouth, eats the tongue and replaces itself as the fish's new tongue. A black mamba is the fastest snake, which can slither at a speed of 12.5 miles an hour, 20 km/h. They have neurotoxins which are fast acting. The venom shuts down the nervous system and paralyzes the victim. Its venom is able to kill 10 people and it repeatedly bites. To add on to this, there is an almost 100% kill rate and can kill in 20 minutes. Tarantulas can swim. If you live to age 70, you will have shed around 105 pounds of skin. Edit. Because most seem confused. I mean over time, not all at once. That would be terrible. It wasn't until 1987 that the American Academy of Pediatrics declared it unethical to operate on newborns without anesthesia. Until surprisingly recently, the medical community felt it would be dangerous to give infants anesthesia and/or believed that they didn't feel pain. When creating the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland, they couldn't create skeletons that looked realistic enough, so they used real human skeletons. They've since removed all of them except one. Ducks become cannibals due to boredom. Of all ducking reasons, they can only be stopped by cutting off their mouths. It was once discovered that a fir tree was growing inside a human body. Artem Sidorkin went to the doctors suspecting something wrong with his lungs. The doctors thought they were dealing with a tumor, but turns out he had inhaled a fir tree seed which had sprouted and had begun growing in his lungs. Edit. Wow, so Grey's Anatomy is a popular show. I'm sure this was the inspiration for that episode. Cockroaches have been recorded eating human flesh, both living and dead, as well as fingernails, eyelashes, feet, and hands. The American cockroach and German cockroach are more likely to bite humans than other species. pretty sure Australian cockroaches do something equally creepy, but as an Australian who plans to sleep at some point in the future, I'm not going to Google it. There was a speech made for Apollo 11 if they were to die on the moon. Side fact, if it were to happen, people would look up at the moon knowing that that crew died there, and their bodies would rest there till the end of time. Not forgetting that the ocean is somewhat like this. Many people died there too, at the very depths of the sea. It's quite common after you die to burp a lot as you have more gas buildup. Dead bodies can also sit up on their own sometimes. Most people smell different when they're awake. Mount Everest is covered in frozen corpses because removing them is very unsafe and time consuming. They are easily viewed from the climbing routes and some are used as trail markers. Imagine being totally aware of someone performing CPR but you physically can't move or respond. Well, that's what happens when you get bitten by a blue-ringed octopus. You have approx 6 minutes between being bitten and someone starting CPR to keep your heart and lungs functioning to ensure you survive, all whilst being totally aware of what is happening to you. Neurotoxins are fun. There are upwards of 300 active serial killers in the world. Hearing is the last thing to go after you die. You just might hear the paramedics and firefighters call off CPR. A single tiger has killed over 436 people in India. Dolphins are ducking monsters, and although this one isn't as creepy as other comments, but gangs of male dolphins can trap a female, slap her around with their tails, and forcibly duck her for weeks. Dolphins are ducked up, man. Human brains when they dry out smell like cat piss, that stinky ammonia smell. Worked in Anna for 17 years in CT. Had a gumshot to the head come in and a chunk fell onto my shoe and didn't notice. While driving home was like, what the duck, did my cat piss in the car or something? Went to take my shoes off and there is was. Edit for all you people with morbid curiosity. Fresh brains look like cream cheese mixed with strawberry jam. Edit 2. No, they died. Trans life harvested organs. Elmer McCurdy was a failed Old West outlaw. His preserved body was put on display in a traveling carnival, and years later he was eventually assumed to be a mannequin until he was used on set for the TV show The $6 Million Man. His arm accidentally fell off during the shoot, revealing bone and muscle and that he was a corpse, not a mannequin. Sometimes an Amber Alert causes kidnappers to panic and kill the kid immediately. Wow, this got way more attention than I expected. This is very rare, and most of the time Amber Alerts are issued for kids taken by an estranged family member where the kid is in no danger. Amber Alerts have also saved hundreds of lives. Sorry for bumming you all out. Sense of impending doom is an actual symptom that often precedes your death, usually in cases of heart attack. Very creepy for some of us that suffer from anxiety and panic attacks to begin with. Both share that symptom. The stonefish, an incredibly venomous fish living in tropical waters mostly off the coast of Australia and parts of US, can cause pain that only escalates with time. Eventually the pain will subside, but even after the barb is removed, patients have reported increasing pain 12+ hours later. Without anti-venom or denaturing the venom with excessive heat, the pain builds and builds until the patients request euthanasia. Its spines hold the venom, hidden in its dorsal fins. Aboriginals living around the Great Barrier Reef have corroborees, large gatherings, and will during these gatherings hold reenactments of people being stung by this monster, for what I assume is either amusement, learning, or both. Edit. Corroboree clarification. Edit 2. Pain does eventually end. Reminded of Suicide Tree where pain does not. Terrible leaves for toilet paper. There's a spider that gives you a 3H long boner before you die from its bite. Edit. The boner it gives you is very painful. They used real corpses in the 1982 film Poltergeist for the ending pool scene. The actress did not know until after the scene was filmed. CNN has had a pre-recorded broadcast from the 90s which they will premiere during the end of the world. Since 2007, at least 20 detached human feet have been found on the coasts of the Salish Sea. From Atlas Obscura by Fowler, Thuris, and Morton, Necropants, reader's discretion advised. In Iceland, a long time ago, 17th c. Friends followed complex rules to obtain a dead man's skin to turn them into pants. You had to get permission from the dude to use his skin after he kicked the bucket. You would then wait until burial formalities concluded. You would rob the sheet out of your buddy's grave. You would cut the waist and peel the bottom half of the body off in one perfect flay. You would then steal a coin from a poor widow, preferably your bud's. Place the coin in the scrotum of the necropants to attract cosmic sheet, specifically more wealth in life, and leave the groin full of coins at all times. Pass that sheet down to your kid. Fun fact, the Museum of Icelandic Sorcery and Witchcraft has a pair on display for all of us sickos to gawk at. Edit. Steal a coin. Additional. You are right. It's folklore. What is creepy is that they dedicated a museum to all of this ducking metal folklore and bothered to create a replica of a very disturbing idea. I just thought the storytelling would be fun. And lo and behold, I had some amazing comments come from it. Some species of spiderlings eat their mothers alive. The Norsino affair. For those who don't want to read the ducked up details. In Stalin's Russia, 6,700 people were sent to live in a work camp on an island in a remote part of Russia. They had no supplies, shelter, or tools, and if they tried to leave the island they were shot and killed by Russian soldiers. It took less than 2 months before the people on the island, in their desperation, gave in to a cannibalistic holocaust. Over 4,000 people were killed or went missing in that time. In the end, only 300 people made it off the island in one piece. It wasn't until the late 80s that a world tribunal even found out the gruesome details of what went on there. There are more creatures in your mouth than there are people on Earth. The astronauts aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger most likely didn't die until they hit the water miles below the initial explosion. I once read that you should play dead if a bear attacks you, unless they start licking your wounds because that means they plan to eat you. That still haunts me to this day. Edit. If it helps, I'm pretty sure I was reading about grizzly bears at the time during one of my fevered grizzly man rabbit holes. After raping his blindfolded victims, the Golden State Killer would be super duper quiet and pretend like he was gone, and right when the poor victims would start to move towards the phone or try to untie themselves, he would scare the ducking sheet out of them. Pigs will eat anything. There are stories of pigs entering farmhouses and eating newborn humans. More than 7,000 people die annually due to the doctor's bad handwriting. The human body can be drained of blood in 8.6 seconds given adequate vacuuming systems. The men of the ship Essex, the true event that inspires the story Moby Bignick, avoided islands after being shipwrecked for fear of cannibals. The islands were settled and landing there would have brought salvation to the survivors. Ironically, because of this bypass, the men ran out of food and were forced to eat each other for survival. In the Czech Republic, there is a church called the Sedlec Ossuary that has decorations made entirely of human bones. This happened because there were too many people in the cemetery to bury everyone, and the church leaders claimed that if their bones became part of the church, it only made them closer to God. Nice propaganda spin there, guys. Anything to do with parasitic wasps. Jeffrey Dahmer tried to make 6 zombies out of some of his victims by drilling holes in their heads while they were still alive and pouring acid into the holes. A bubble caused by false vacuum decay could be expanding through our galaxy right now, destroying everything it touches, and we wouldn't even know about it, because it travels at the speed of light. Edit. To all the people who I've given existential dread with this comment, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking of it as scary as much as just creepy, and as others have pointed out already, it's hypothetical at this point, so try not to work about it. Every year you live through the future anniversary of your death. Eventually there will be more dead people on Facebook than alive. An elephant masturbates by slapping its pen 15 on itself. Unborn babies have a layer of hair around them to regulate body temperature, called lanugo. They shed it, eat it, then poop it out after birth. According to Abe Lincoln's bodyguard Crook, he said Lincoln had a dream about his own assassination 3 nights in a row before he was killed. Crook told Lincoln not to go on that fateful night, and all Lincoln said was goodbye. crook before he went to the play. This was very odd as Lincoln always said, "Good night, not goodbye." You're more likely to be murdered by someone you know than a stranger. If you stifle a sneeze, there's a chance you can damage organs in your head, including eye blood vessels, rupturing your eardrums, and possibly rupture a brain aneurysm, which means there's a small chance stifling a sneeze can kill you. Better to be the loud ats with the sneeze that can be heard around the world than a dead loud ats cause someone told you to stifle that sneeze. This might not be very creepy, but there are no laws against cannibalism in the USA. You might be arrested for something else, but not for cannibalism. Edit. I would like to clarify that I am in no way a practitioner of law. I don't know the specifics of what you would be arrested for. This was just a random fact floating in my brain. Edit 2. Most of the USA lacks these laws. It seems Idaho had some incidents, leading to them being the only state with anti-cannibalism laws. Thank you for informing me. You all know who you are. Since 1900, over 13,000 people have been murdered by serial killers in the USA. Your brain can play tricks on you to make you see monsters in the mirror, called the Troxler effect. The Troxler effect is an optical illusion that affects how you perceive things, both visually and mentally. The smell of a freshly cut lawn is actually a chemical distress signal released from the grass as it's cut. You're smelling the souls and screaming of the innocent. A firewall can go as big as an EF3 tornado. In 1923, such happened in Japan during an earthquake, the son of which killed 38,000 people in less than 15 minutes. Chicken are so dumb they can accidentally peck each other, and if one of them feels meat in the other chicken, then all chickens will peck that chicken to death and eat it. Albert Fish, the serial killer, loved eating poop. Edit. Didn't expect Uncle Albert's peanut butter to blow up like this. Check out the podcast Time Suck by Dan Cummins. He's got an episode about Albert Fish and goes in depth about other serial killers in other episodes. Either somebody knows where Malaysia Flight 370 went missing to, or nobody does. Both are equally terrifying. Most dust is made of dead human skin and microscopic bug sheet. Edit. Also living dust mites. Edit. Apparently it's a myth that most dust is mostly made of all this stuff, and a quick Wikipedia search tells me that yeah, there is some human skin cells and hair, but very little. Our graves will be reused for someone else unless we are memorable, which in the 99% of the time we won't be, so we better start thinking of badass ways we can be buried. If we're cremated, then forget about being remembered past one generation unless you name a park or building after yourself. Roach are natural burrowers. They also can't walk backwards. There have been cases where they burrow into people's ears but cannot get themselves out. Shoot, I gotta go get wasted. Thanks for listening. If I spark joy, hit me with a like and subscribe. I make new videos every day. Till then, check out another video or leave a comment. I love you. Have a great day, you beautifully impressive person.